welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker here with a Taiwanese oolong to try out. I'm going to go ahead and got my equipment ready, so we're going to go ahead and get this one ready to steep. Spoon here, scoop out enough to cover the usual inch to inch and a half diameter of the bottom of the guy one. That looks pretty good. And my water's been brought to an early boil. Nice gooseneck spout here kind of allows you to, gives you more control as you allow the water to kind of swirl around, catching or sweeping all these leaves beneath the surface of the water so that there's no portion of dry leaf or pieces of leaf partially dry floating on top. And good, I've got a little bit of water on above the rim of my lid there. It creates kind of a nice seal. So that's ready to go. It's steeping away, and I can talk about this tea and introduce it. This is from Teavivre. This is their Nonpareil Taiwan Ling Mountain Oolong, or Oolong, depending on your pronunciation. Let's see. There's Ling. I should mention it's the full name, High Mountain Chawang Oolong Tea. You can get a sample of 7 grams for $6. But because this is a bit more of a unique tea in Teavivre's line of offerings, Ling is one of the higher, if not one of the highest mountains or areas of elevation where tea is grown in Taiwan. This particular tea is from a higher elevation of 2,500 meters, 2,500 meters in elevation. This particular tea, the product page indicates this tea was grown or harvested rather in May of 2013. He even goes on to talk about the particular tea farmer, whose name is Lei, that's L-U-I, Lei Jichang, who is kind of the founder, according to the information on the website, as founder, the owner of, if not then one of the highest elevation tea farms in Taiwan. Actually, it's interesting to note there can be teas grown in Taiwan that are at higher elevations than some of the teas grown in Darjeeling. You think of Darjeeling Himalayas, you might intuitively think, the Darjeelings are necessarily higher, but that's not always the case. Talking about this tea, talking about how this is kind of a unique tea, I'm going to go ahead and look at the dry leaf, the wet leaf, and the liquor now, starting off here with the dry. Let me give this a shake. I'm going to blow a kind of cool breath, and then a warmer. I'm going to wake these leaves up. And when I do that, I get kind of warmer, sweeter, toastier type notes. I get a sweet graham cracker type of note, a bit of a honey graham type of element there, a bit of a floral, woody kind of English laurel shrub type of smell there. Those are the two dominants. So you get a bit of again, somewhat floral, somewhat honey, somewhat toasty aspects there. Scooping out a few of these leaves onto the spoon here. Color-wise, you're getting a deeper green, almost more over towards a bit of a green, light gray type of color, so it's richer, heavier, darker greens. You get some green yellows there as well. And you will notice that you have tightly wrapped, tightly balled pieces here. Some of them larger than others, indicating that some of these are going to be maybe one leaf, maybe 2, 3 leaves in a bud rolled together. So that's something to note. We'll see what happens when they unfurl, and we look at I look at the wet leaf there. So setting the dry leaf to a side there, I can now get to the wet leaf. I'm going to give this angle my lid. Middle finger and thumb holding the bowl of the gaiwan, the index finger keeping the lid in place slightly askew there so that you have a pouring area and airflow area at the top, so the air enters and the liquor flows through more evenly. So I'm going to give this a shake and talk a little bit about this wet leaf. Still the sweet, getting more towards that English laurel, kind of woody, floral type element there. As it cools, a faint, a little lighter, buttery type element coming on. Let me scoop out. I got a little piece of leaf portion there stuck to the lid, but I'm going to pull out some of these larger leaves. Nearly intact leaf. Here's an example of this leaf. Oh, that's probably 3 inches or so in length, going nearly the whole size of my lid there. You can see some of that ragged edges along the bottom here that got torn off where then the rolling or the firing process dried the areas and they flaked off a little bit. You can see a little bit of oxidation, a little bit of browner tinges here and there along the edge that have taken place. So that was an individual leaf. You also have a stem here that had some leaves connected to it but no longer. Let me see if there's any sets here, just to pull that out. I've got a 1, 2, 3 leaves, and notice these leaves have nearly fully unfurled after that steeping time. So you had 3 leaves and a bud here. So let me kind of shift things around a little bit so that I can get all of this onto the lid of my Gaiwan. Before moving on to talk a little bit about the liquor. Okay, those are somewhat positioned there, and still blotches, tinges of oxidation on this 3 leaf and bud piece there. So moving now to the liquor, let me give that a swirl, and up in the light there you see it's a nice bright yellow gold over towards a little bit on the greener end of the spectrum, indicating that not a lot of oxidation and not a lot of roasting that took place. Lighter than those elements. Let me give this a sip. A good brothiness. It's not thin, faint. It's delicate, yet consistent and even. Elements are still a bit in that area of a bit of the English laurel, maybe a tinge of the graham cracker. Bit of the buttery note coming out. It's got a bit of a buttery type of texture and aroma too. So that's kind of nice. Stringency is quite low, practically non-existent, and so I'm left with this gentle, again, light coating, yet sustained coating, along with an aftertaste, still kind of gentle, mellow, yet sweet, like nectar coming straight out of a flower. So it's that lighter sweetness there, that slight viscosity that can come out of that kind of flowered nectar. So there's that nectary element there. Honeysuckle nectar, that kind of lightly sweet taste and texture, feel. Still going on. Those tastes are still resonating in underneath my tongue, towards the back, and moving along towards the front, even front sides or middle sides of my tongue, and underneath the underside of my tongue, I should say. So looking at this tea, as it cools, I should mention, this tasting, off-camera tastings, fairly consistent. As this cools, the elements pick up. This is starting to get a little bit more pronounced in its flavor components, and its textures even picking up a little bit. Let me give this just one more quick sip as this is cooling off a little bit. Yeah, the texture is really starting to pick up, so this is getting smoother, richer, heavier, and that's expressing itself in the aftertaste as well. It's still a little thicker feel in the aftertaste as well. So, looking at this tea, yeah, it's got some nice components compared to other Daiyulings I've encountered. A little softer than those, but still having all the components present. So I would probably give this one. Yeah, I would say this one deserves a 92. I think there are others out there that can, get up 93, 90, maybe 94. So this one, 92. Nice quality components. A good exercise if you're trying to kind of educate your palate and want to get on to pushing into becoming aware of the nuances, the subtleties of a tea. This is one to explore. So come back to Walker Tea Review to learn about, to educate yourself on the nuances and subtleties of teas that you can train your palate to detect.